بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا Muhammad ومن ولا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. If I say to you, رأيت أسدا, I saw Asad. Asad is a lion, right? Your mind immediately goes where? To al-Hayawan al-Muftaris, to this ferocious predator. But then I say to you, no, I mean this person named Asad. That's the secondary meaning. So in this context that I just gave you, the first meaning, the lion is Zahir. In this context, the second meaning I provided you, a person named Asad, is Mu'awwal. It's been interpreted from its literal meaning, the lion, to its figurative meaning, a person who's brave. Ra'aytu Asadan. If I say Ra'aytu Asadan, here your mind's like, oh, the Zahir is the lion. But if I say Ra'aytu Asadan yakhtubu, I saw the Asad giving the khutbah. Now it goes from the lion to what? To the person, be a dalil, with an evidence. So what I just modeled for you is very important in the process. So we're going to talk about, I think there's 8. We may not talk about all of them. Times where there's a reason why the Zahir is given preference over the Mu'awwal, that the explicit is given preference, or implicit is given preference over the interpreted. Given preference over the interpreted, And here's an example that I gave you. Ra'aytu asadan. I saw a lion. Here you prefer the literal over the figurative. But it is allowed to interpret Asad as being a person if there is dalil. At-tawil bi-dalil. Not just ta'wil. With dalil. So if I say Ra'aytu asadan fil ma'raka yuqatilu عدو المسلمين. I saw a lion in the battle fighting the enemies of Islam. At that moment, you know immediately I'm talking about a person. بالدليل بالأوصاف هذه الصفات في المعركة يقاتل عدو المسلمين. Those 3 things imply I'm talking about a human being. So that's what we're going to talk about. That's why I said this is a very, very important and beautiful and entertaining, if you will, section in Usul al-Fiqh. So the Shaykh, he says, نفعنا الله تعالى بعلمه في دارين أمين قال وظاهر أي اللفظ الظاهر ما احتمل احتمال. We're going to talk about it in the future. احتمالات, different potential meanings. Here it means carry. أمرين أحدهما أظهر من الآخر. And here you can appreciate, if you think about what Imam al-Haramain is doing. He says, al-Zahir, the implicit, is what carries 2 meanings. One is clearer than the other. If you look at the waraqat, it's basically definitions. He took a lumma of Imam al-Sharazi and summarized it sort of like in, these are the definitions of these ideas in Usul al-Fiqh. Because the goal of the waraqat is not tasdiq, it's tasawwur. That's very important. In mantiq, in Islamic logic, we have this process of learning at-tasawwur wa tasdiq. Tasawwur means I conceptualize. At-tasdiq means now I affirm the relationships of the things I've conceptualized. So the beginning student is the one who is mutasawwir, is struggling to conceptualize. And the scholar is the one that has tasdiq, musaddiq, yusaddiq hadhihi al-alaqat, those relationships. That's why Imam al-Akhdari says in Usul, I believe, إدراك مفرد تصور علم. إدراك مفرد تصورا or تصور علم. That, you know, understanding a concept at its face value is تصور. ودرك نسبة بتصديق وسم. Then he says, and then understanding the relationship between those concepts is tasdiq. You affirm it or you deny it. You affirm, like if I say Suhaybun, you know who Suhayb is. Khalas. If I say Suhaybun yutiru fi sama, Suhayb, he can fly in the sky. So you have tasawwur, but now I'm asking you to make a ruling on a nisba, the hukm. Here you see something. Pay attention to what I'm telling you, because there's layers to it that are going to become very important, especially when we talk about fatwa, ijtihad, hukm ala shay. The hukm on something is an attempt to either establish or disprove a nisba, its relationship. So if I say Suhaybun يطير في السماء بلا الأسباب. So like Suhaib is flying in the sky without a plane or anything helping him. You can affirm Suhaib هذا تصور. Suhaib يطير, can make تصور of it. Suhaib يطير في السماء, this nisbah, you're going to either affirm it or deny it. So you're going to deny it. That's why I heard Dr. Mahmoud say something nice, تصديق أو تكذيب يعني. So the first is إدراك مفرد, Suhaib. إدراك مفرد, to fly. Then you're going to deny this relationship. That's tasdeeq. So what is Imam al-Haramain doing now? In al-Waraqat, he's giving you tasawwarat. Like al-Ajrumiyya. That's why we say these are beginner books. Not because what's important is not there, but they are meant to facilitate tasawwur that lead to tasdeeq, al-alaqat. If you think about what I just said to you, it's something there. Just if you're following this class, I know only a few people follow this class. People tell me it's hard. Listen, that's not my responsibility. I do my best. But the responsibility is for us to push ourselves, to work hard. من جاهد حتما سينال. So he says, وَظَاهِرُ مَا احْتَمَلَ أَمْرَيْنِ أَحَدُهُمَا أَظْهَرُ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. Al-Zahir is what carries two meanings here. One is more explicit than the other, clearer than the other. كالأسد, like the example I gave you. في رأيت اليوم أسدا, like I saw today an asad. فإنه ظاهر في حيوان المفترس. Its clear meaning is that it's talking about this ferocious animal. لأن المعنى الحقيقي محتمل للرجل الشجاع فإنه حمل اللفظ على المعنى الآخر سمي مؤولا. Basically what he's saying is that it can also mean a person, a man who's brave, a person who's brave. If somebody opts for that secondary meaning, we say it's mu'awwal. But mu'awwal bid-dalil. It's very important to say that. What is mu'awwal? We're going to talk about it next time, inshallah. فَإِنَّمَا يُؤَوَّلُ بِالدَّلِيلِ. This is beautiful what he's saying here. Shaykh Muhalli al-Shafi'i. It's interpreted with an evidence. What is a dalil? Dalil al-Shar'i has to have 4 conditions. Number 1, صحة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. If it's coming from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, it has to be sahih. Has to be sahih. Number 2, متضح دلالته. That what you're using it to prove is clear. Like if I say, 5 daily prayers is proof that 5 times a day you have to give me a charity. There's evidence, 5 daily prayers, but it's not متضح دلالته. It's not clear for the evidence, so that's rejected. Number 3, mustamirran. It's not mansukha. The third condition of a dalil is that it's not abrogated. It's not abrogated. And the fourth, rujhanuhu أو على ما يعارضه. That in face of what contradicts it, it can withstand itself. These 4 conditions are mentioned by Shaykh al-Tilmisani in MIftah al-Usul. Very important because people talk about dalil. Ask them what are the conditions of the dalil. If they can't tell you, then it's just people just wasting their time talking out the side of their head. But this knowledge is a knowledge of discipline and focus. It's not just to run all over the place, run rampant. Either way, to be hyper harsh or irresponsibly loose. La ya shaykh. We stick to the qawaid. So the shaykh, he says here, rahimahullah, فَإِنَّهُ حُمِلَ اللَّفْظُ عَلَى الْمَعْنَى الْآخَرِ سُمِّيَ مُؤَوَّلًا وَإِنَّمَا يُؤَوَّلُ بِالدَّلِيلِ. The only way you can take a zahir and give it a mu'awwal is that it's done with dalil, and dalil, as I just mentioned to you, shar'i, has to have 4 conditions. Number 1, أن يكون صحيحا عن صاحب الشريعة صلى الله عليه وسلم. Outside the Quran خلاص, we don't subject it to this conversation because it's mutawatir. But it's authentically narrated on behalf of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or acted upon by the Salaf. Ridwanullahi alayhim. Even if the hadith is not strong, we find alayhi al-amal. The second condition, muttadih dalalatuhu, that what it's being used to prove is clear. Like there's that relationship is very clear. Munasabah bayna al-dalil wal-madlul. The third, an yakun mustamirran, ay la yakun mansukhan. What he means by mustamirran is that it's going to continue till the end of time. It's not abrogated. And we know there's no naskh, as we'll talk about in the future, after the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the fourth, أن يكون راجحا أو رجحانه على ما يعارضه, that it can withhold any attempts to try to show with other evidences that is not the right opinion, that is not the approved opinion. So here he says, وَإِنَّمَا يُؤَوَّلُ وَإِنَّمَا يُفِيدُ الْحَصْرِ, it can only be interpreted بِالدَّلِيل. It can only be interpreted, it can only be مُؤَوَّل with dalil. كما قال يؤول الظاهر بالدليل. It's an axiom. تأويل الظاهر لا يجوز تأويل الظاهر إلا بالدليل. It's a great axiom, that you're not allowed to interpret the implicit text to another meaning except with a supporting evidence. So we're going to stop here. Barakallahu feekum. وجزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.